what's actually coming in the future. It's what everybody's clamoring for. More austerity.
Okay, so
Well, as they say, yeah, go ahead, Mo.
no, I was just trying to. What was the current topic? What was the problem you were bringing up? Some sort of population problem or something?
Oh, I'm just trying to paint an overall meta narrative of what's going on around us. It occurred to me that when discussing the correlation of paying what paying for the first date as a man has to do with slavery, unfortunately, has to do with the postmodern consensus, which is technocratic. That's my argument. I kind of intervened when he was blaming everything and laying it all the guilt on the heels of collectivism, communism, socialism, when in fact there is also a capitalist technocratic part of what's going on, especially pertaining to the culture. Transgenderism, for example, wouldn't even be possible without the radical individualism of a laissez-faire capitalist system in the form of the culture that is open and tolerant to such a concept, and under that life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness mantra.
But wouldn't you say that
and
this
have
kind
the technological
Okay.
superstructure to even pull it off in the first place?
But
of the immoral pharmaceutical medical industry, the industrial industry of that, which is immoral to its core.
Okay, so the whole transgenderism thing, that's just the current modern day degeneracy. That
But look at all
same
the
thing.
trans
That, hold on,
that are affirmed
hold on. Let me. So, we've seen degenerate works throughout history repeat over and over again. I don't think you can lay that at the feet of one government system as far as, like, let's say, late stage capitalism, because we've seen degeneracy in all types of governments throughout history.
Word. Late stage capitalism.
Well, that's what you're saying, right?
But it's not. I get it, because it's Marx uses that language. So I'm not going to cringe because of the concept of late stage capitalism, which is kind of, in a way, unfolding. That's basically what I'm articulating.
Yeah, I mean, that's what it sounded like to me.
But not in the form of his dialectical of history. I mean, if this has happened,
but going back to my point, though, can you contend with that a little bit? Haven't we seen degeneracy throughout history in different forms of government? So how can you place it on capitalism, saying it can't exist?
So none of the other socialists and socialist movements, especially like the ones that we would consider the actual Marxists, they establish their dictatorship of the proletariat, but they never get out of that stage before the government regime collapses. They're never able to, because if Marx's theory is correct, the dictator at some point in time in the experiment turns over power to the people and abolishes the government. There's no need for banks anymore. Everybody's perfectly enlightened. There's no need for banks. There's no need for the government proper, and everybody is just going to function. And all of the organs of civilization are just going to function without a centralized organ structure and committee. Unless I'm completely.
I don't see how that. Well, you made the point that you said it wouldn't be possible without the current capitalist system for these.
Yes, that's
transgender.
The trans.
But my point is we've seen degeneracy in different forms throughout history. This is just a newest version of it. You can look at Germany, right? What government would you say Germany was? Would you say it was socialist in nature? What would you say it is?
Which phase?
Going into the Hitler's reign.
So that was never. So what was happening then was the imperial system collapsed, and you had a couple of interesting cultural things going on that were kind of in the right place at the right time to amplify a message with a lot of, let's say, organs and vehicles of the state. That is, like the Frankfurt and Bauhaus schools, right? A lot of their philosophy had entered into the main.
I was just wondering, what would you classify that government structure as? Socialist,
Well, it was
authoritarian. Like, what would you?
Okay, I'd put it in totalitarian, where it was
Okay.
the totalitarian factions,
So
the
even
communists
in
the
that.
fascists
Okay,
were
great.
battling it out, and the fascists were the ones that won that battle. Actually,
Sure, but
Hitler
here's my point.
synthesized both those two together.
Okay,
the
but here's my
majority
point.
of the Nazi Party were the Social Democrats.
Okay, but hold on. Here's my point. Even in that structure, we saw the emergence of things like transgender. That was what the whole book burning thing was about,
Yes,
right?
that was-
So
that- yes, that-
so
that was
we
out of the
we
Frankfurt
saw
and the
we saw
Baja
the
school.
same we saw this the same, not the same exact same, but we saw degeneracy in different forms throughout history in different government structures.
But that wasn't the
So
imperial system before it.
But my point is, to place it at the blame of capitalism is not fair, because degeneracy exists wherever there are people who do not have a good moral structure.
Okay, so to clarify, then I'm not putting capitalism as the main root there. It's a hybrid system. So do you understand like the overall philosophy of the Frankfurt and the Baja schools? Would you say that they're in favor of a Fabian form of socialism?
I'm not familiar with that, so I can't really comment on it.
So as far as like application of powers, right? Would you contend that there's like a hard power and a soft power? A soft power being like using religion, popular culture, the theater.
Collective.
Yes, collective power.
So collective power versus actual force. Is that what you're saying?
Like Mussolini death squads. Actually, Mussolini was more pro death squad than around them up and ask questions.
I would say you have those two structures, but ultimately force is what makes ultimately in the end.
Yes,
you can have all the collective power in the world, but if you don't have a force behind it, then nothing's going to get done.
Right. That was Stalin, and that was the Bolsheviks with Lenin. But the Central Committee was still in charge.
Okay.
My point is, Fabian socialism was the technocratic solution. We take in the aspects, a lot of the people that like the Nordic models of government, these would be would favor more of a Fabian system, where the rule is we have a robust safety network, but this comes at the price of A, high taxes, and B, group cohesion.
So let me ask you this though. Okay, so given that we
capitalism, but my point is,
okay,
none of this socialism pays for itself. So actually, we're going to have super capitalism in a lot of different ways when it comes to how we're going to trade and regulate on markets, and we're still going to have a general respect for private property.
So given we established that the whole degenerate acts is, you can't lay that necessarily at the feet of capitalism.
Not completely.
It really depends on the moral framework of the people who are in power, who are shaping the government. Would you agree with that?
Yes, but I would also have to put the caveat on it, and okay. I think I'm curious if you would agree then with that markets are mandated or kind of ruled by desire, by human desire.
Yeah, but you would still have things that curtail that. Like for instance, we don't have an open market to sell human body parts, right? Because people consider it morally wrong. Yeah, so you have
slavery,
but that is dictated by the morality of the people who govern that nation. Any nation.
So I propose that.
But wait, hold on. If you agree with that, then sounds to me like we could use some Christian nationalism to steer us towards a better future.
That's been my argument all night.
Oh, okay.
If I had to choose a praxis, which again, I'm an unconditional accelerationist, I don't think we can do anything to slow this thing down or speed it up. But if I was to make a prescription on what is best, I think that Christian nationalism has demonstrated throughout American history its superiority and fairness with any racial demographic. Full stop.